Welcome to Kolorflow Conversations. I am Uakeisha and this is
Tikisha.
where we flow freely, speak boldly, and connect colorfully. And as you can see, we have a special guest with us. Listen, every time we have a special guest, it's always somebody so far that I've known. And when I mentioned to Tikisha about us having a special guest, because it's breast cancer awareness month, um, I tried to think of somebody that means a lot to me. I just didn't want to invite anybody who just had a story but no connection to us, or connection to me. Mm-hmm. So we first thought about. I said, "Did you have somebody?" And you was like, "You have somebody." And then God placed my good friend and sister Dacia Bowers on my heart. And what's interesting about Dacia, we know each other multiple ways.
Right. right.
Multiple ways. We met at church. Did we meet at church first?
Yes. And that's when we found out we had the other connection.
Yes, we met at church first, and then we found out that we had a connection through family as well. She was best friends with a cousin of mine that passed away. And so her and her husband have always called me cousin. I've been cousin like forever. Mm-hmm. And they have always been supportive, and I just love y'all. Mm-hmm. And one thing I wanted to talk to you, wanted to bring you on, was because we've never talked about you having breast cancer.
Right.
When I first found out, it wasn't like you didn't go off like, let me tell everybody. It was just you had it, and but you never changed. You was smiling your way through it.
Yes.
I saw the change when you just embraced the baldness. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? This will be a great time for me to talk to her.
Right.
And find out her story.
Right.
But first, before we go into that,
mm-hmm.
I mentioned your husband. Everybody who we've had on so far, you're our third guest. They've all had marriages that I can admire. And your husband is a man who has a boldness and love for God that I don't see often. Okay. And he's always had it since I met him. But he also has that same boldness and love for his wife.
Right.
And I see his support for you. How long have y'all been married?
We just celebrated 27 years of marriage October 17th, but we've been together for 37 years.
Wow.
So I'd never discount the first 10 because that's a part of our story. But we just celebrated 27 years of marriage last Thursday.
Really?
Yes.
Did y'all do something last week?
Yeah, we went out to Fleming's for dinner.
Okay.
And that was really nice. And what I did, because he loves social media, as you know. So I was like, so we're not going to look at our phones. So I tore a page out of a journal, and each page had a Bible verse on the top. So I'm like, honey, this is a 2-part exercise. I said, we're each going to read the Bible verse, and then we're going to apply it to how we feel about each other. So we did that, and then, we had our appetizers, and then we wrote each other.
Y'all did this at the dinner?
At the dinner.
Oh,
I love.
Really?
Yes. And then we wrote a quick love letter to each other, just a 1 page. I said, it doesn't have to be deep, but it was amazing.
Really?
It was, something different. I went first, and he was like, wow, I can't follow that. I said, yes, you can. So then he said his part, and one thing he said that's really stuck out to me and kind of like reignited my fire for him is that when we were going through hard times in the beginning of our marriage, that he prayed every day that I would not leave him.
What?
And I'm like, oh. So, yeah, I know he prays every day, and he prays every morning, and he calls out everyone's name. Every single morning. So I know he prays, but to hear him say that for 27 years he's been praying that I would never leave him just blew my mind. I'm like, oh, I'm in love all over again.
Really?
So yes, I've just been riding high since he said that.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what we talking about when we talk on this podcast about marriage and wanting our spouse to be our friend.
Yes.
Because I can feel the friendship with you all.
Yes.
And it's funny when we first started, we I don't know what episode it was, but we was like, can we think of a couple that I had a hard time thinking of couples right then,
Right.
but I knew that I knew couples that could be an example of real love.
Right.
And your husband, you know how sometimes you get the ick on husbands that you be like, he be, he got a wandering eye, or her husband has been bold for God from the moment I met him. I know he hasn't always been that way in life because he's told his testimony, but I can see his love for you, especially, and then that goes down to your entire family.
Yes.
Like he is a great example. So I know you're gonna watch this, Albert. I say Albert, Al, cuz that's what he called me. Every time he see me, he say, "Hey, cuz, I just want you to know that, we appreciate men like you, and thank you for letting us know that it's men out there that will." Show that love for real after 37 years.
37 years.
37 years. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So, and I've seen his support for you even during this process.
Oh, it was amazing.
So, first tell me, how did you find out you had breast cancer?
Okay, so let me give you all a brief history. My mom was 17 when she lost her mother. My grandmother was 42. She died of breast cancer and ovarian cancer.
Oh, okay.
My mom had tumors, but they were benign. So when I was around 24, 25, I had my first mammogram because of that history. Nothing showed. It was early. I was young. I stopped then, and then I started back when I was 40. And I just always got them regularly. There was a point where I had a mammogram, and they thought they saw something. So they said, well, come back in 6 months. So I went back in 6 months. They didn't see anything. But what I learned was that I had dense breasts. It's just a lot of fatty tissue. So what they thought they saw was nothing, right? Didn't think anything of it. COVID came. So I put it off for like maybe 6 months because I just wasn't going out. I went for my regular mammogram. Took the mammogram. They're like, okay, we think we see something. So we want you to come back for an ultrasound. Go back for the ultrasound, and they see something. But let me jump back before then. Al retired in August of 2021, right? And at that time, he said, babe, I'm about to retire. You're going to have to get your own insurance. And I'm like, pay for it? And I'm like, what do you mean? Because he always carried me. We had HAP. I always went to Henry Ford.
So with his retirement, he would lose his benefits.
Yes.
Okay.
So he did, was able to get Medicare or whatever they give them, but that left me with nothing. So I'm tripping like, I don't get sick. Why would I have to spend my money for it? I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. And something said, don't be foolish. Just go ahead and get the insurance. You ain't strapped for money anyway, so stop tripping. So, and it's pre-tax, so it's not that much. Fast forward, one infusion was $13,000. So just imagine had I not listened to God and went on and got the insurance, because mind you, I've never had a toothache. I've never had a broken bone. I've never even had the flu. So I jumped over all the normal stuff, bam, right to breast cancer. And they couldn't, when the doctors examined me, they couldn't feel it. It wasn't a lump. It was just these two spots. And it was never, they were, filling me up, and, everybody was coming in, no
Because
lumps.
everybody always feel like it's a lump.
Yes, and it was not. They could not catch it by touch. So they diagnosed me with invasive ductal carcinoma, and it was at stage 1A. The test showed that it was HER2 positive and estrogen positive. So if you all ever hear of anybody or the commercials talk about triple negative breast cancer, they look for 3 markers when they test you after you're diagnosed with cancer, and the markers will tell them how to treat it. So if you hear triple negative, that means is no markers, they don't know how to treat it. But mine was double positive for HER2 and positive for estrogen. So they knew how to treat it, but even though it was at stage 1A, it had already started duplicating. And it was at 40% aggression.
Really?
So when they diagnosed me and I found out Keisha's, I cried Keisha's for 7 days straight.
Really?
I didn't question God why, because I don't think I prayed. I just cried from the time I got up to the time I went to
And
bed.
why you think you cried? Did you just see it as an end already, or
I
something?
think so. I thought that was just going to be the end of my life. I'm like, I got cancer. I'm about to die. That's it. So I didn't pray. I just cried. I was just totally, utterly devastated. And then after like the seventh day, I was like, you know what, God? I don't know why you want this to be my testimony, but if this is what it is, I'm ready. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to this doctor's office. I'm going to tell them, just take it off. Take the whole boob and we're going to be done with it. So that's the mindset I had walking into the doctor's office. So when he get in there, hi, I'm Dr. Haitham Ali. I'm like, I'm Dacia Bowers. Take it off. I already know what I want. Just cut it off. And he was like, that's not how this works. So now I'm devastated all over again. I'm like, what do you mean?
Because you thought if they take it off, it was going to be done?
Yeah, that I wouldn't have to do chemo or radiation or any of that. Just take the boob and we're done with it. And he's like, no, that's not an option for you. And that is not, a cure-all for everything. The way your cancer is at stage 1A, but it's aggressive. We can't just cut it off because that doesn't guarantee that we got all the cancer. So then he starts talking about chemo, and I got to have the surgery, and I have to have radiation. And because it was HER2 positive, that means it's more aggressive. So I took traditional chemotherapy and targeted chemotherapy. So I took chemotherapy and immunotherapy at the same time. And immunotherapy is because of the aggression. So here I am in the doctor's office listening to all of these side effects. I talked to Dr. Ali, and then the surgeon came in and I talked to her, and that was Dr. Peterson. And then Dr. Rhonda Walker was my radiation oncologist. She came in and gave me the whole rundown on radiation, and I'm just like,
you feel like your world flipped upside down overnight?
yes. And all of the side effects, and I guess they have to tell you the worst. The list of side effects that he was talking about for chemotherapy, the more he talked, the more I was just like dying in my seat. Like, I cannot do this. I can't do it. I can't do it. But he was really calm, and I told him, I said, listen, I don't know you, you don't know me, but this is how this is going to work. I said, you're not going to see me as just another woman with breast cancer. Your name is Haitham Ali. My name is Dacia Bowers. When you come in here, I'm going to ask you, you're going to ask me how I'm doing. I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to ask you how you're doing, and you're going to tell me. And if you mad at your wife, if the dog done poop in your shoes, whatever is going on, you're going to tell me.
You want him to treat you as a real person.
Yeah,
not
I said,
a
you need to
patient.
see me as a real person, and I'm going to see you as a real person, and this is how this is going to go, because we in it, we got it. I'm going to be here for the next year, so you have to see me as a person. So when you come in the room, before you ask me, before you cut that computer on, I want to know about you, your wife, your mama, your daddy, and I'm going to tell you the same thing. And then we'll start the doctor's appointment. So he was like, okay. So I'm like, yeah, this is how this is going to work.
Wow.
Yes.
Did you work during that time?
Yes, I worked the entire time that I was in treatment. So, I was already home because of COVID. So it was easy to make that adjustment, and that was October when I got diagnosed. November 16th or 17th, they were like, okay, come on, you're going to get the port. So they put the port in, and then my chemo started in November. And, I worked from home. I only missed a half day because one of the medications
made you sick.
Yeah, I wasn't sick, I was weak, and the longer I worked, the weaker I got. So I started at 8:30. By 12 o'clock, I was just literally fading out the chair. I'm like, I can't even sit up. But other than that,
when we went to church together, Dacia was like she still is one of the best dressed. But her hair was always laid. You know what I'm saying? Like, just wasn't a hair out of place ever. Her and her husband just was always well put together. So I want to ask you the transition from going to that to how you've embraced being bald. How was that? How did you start to lose your hair?
Yes, and like she said, I always wore weave because I had hair, but it was very thin, and I had the bald spot. So I always wore weave, and I was always self-conscious because to me everything had to be perfect. And even though my hair was weave, I knew it was fake.
Baby, it looked good though.
So I was always preoccupied. You know, if I'm praising it too hard, is it knotting up in the back? You know, I was just so preoccupied with the outside.
This makes me think about my mom.
In
with
what
her
way?
having lupus with her wigs, and because she didn't have any hair.
Okay.
It was very thin, and then it got to the point from where she couldn't wear the weaves anymore because her head had thinned it out so much where she was almost bald, and she would just wear the wigs, but she would always be like, how do I look, and prim and proper. But I never looked at it from the other point of view, from not having her hair anymore. I just was like, there go my mama with her little vain self.
Yeah, because you don't have hair, but now you have this fake hair, and
you're transitioning and getting adjusted to that
yeah,
part
so,
of your
and
life.
I always wore the weave, and it always had to be perfect, and I was preoccupied with it. And they told me my hair was going to come out. First chemo was November. So I took off my weave and I wore my hair in French braids. So I'm going to wash it. And I'm like, oh, my hair is coming out. And I just went about my business. Next chemo was in December. I'm doing it again. I'm like, oh, my hair is coming. Oh, my hair is literally falling out. So I told my husband, I'm like, you know what? I'm not about to do this Fire Marshal Bill thing. I'm not about to walk around looking like whatever. So I said, I want you to shave my head. So I took a shower. I got dressed, full face makeup, earrings, lipstick, mascara, everything. And I said, now I'm ready. Cut it off. So he shaved my head.
Your husband shaved it?
Yep, he shaved my head. And he was like, okay. And I looked in the mirror. And I think because I prepared my face for it, when I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh, you don't look half bad. You know, I'm okay, this is okay, it's different, but it's not so bad. And by me already being in the house, I was in the house 3 weeks before I went out. So every day I would do the same thing. Get up, get dressed, full face makeup, lipstick, earrings, everything. And my bosses knew, my job knew what I was going through. So I was like, I have to show you guys something. And I showed them the picture, and they're like, you're beautiful. And I'm like, okay. And I looked at the picture, I'm like, it's not that bad. So by the time I got out in the world with it, I was already comfortable. And it feels natural. And, you hide behind makeup and weave and everything. And I'm like, now you can't hide. What they see is what they get. And you don't look that bad. So now...
Stop saying that bad.
Yes,
because it don't look bad at all.
But that's what I was telling myself. It's not that bad. So now I absolutely love it, and I will never go back to hair.
Wow.
Yeah. And plus, it grows in gray on the top, and in my temples where I never had hair, it comes in black. And I'm like, nope. Nope, we're not doing this. So I love it, and I have more confidence now being bald than I did with the weave, because
isn't that amazing though? How
Yes.
when we have the weave, because I was a weave queen too, wigs and weaves, and I never thought that I would wear my own hair. I was just like, I'm gonna be sew ins for life.
Yes.
But when you embrace your natural self in whatever way God gave it to you, whether it's bald, locks, or whatever, it's like you have another awakening to a sense of peace,
right?
And that you don't have to cover up, or it don't have to be perfect.
It doesn't
anymore.
have to be perfect. I can be outside. I can walk from the house to the car. I don't have to worry, oh, my hair is getting wet. You know what I'm saying? Or I can let the windows down and literally let the air blow on my head. Yeah. I'm like, wow, this is amazing.
And then your husband was already supportive, so that makes it easy when you have a supportive partner. that just like whatever he, and we talked about this. Remember we talked about how we will make a person, a female or whoever can make a change to their look, and your partner can make you feel bad.
Yes.
And
Yes.
say, why you do that or don't, or whatever. And when you got somebody who loves you no matter what, no, because it's not about the hair or the outfit or the lipstick. Because I'm sure if you didn't wear your makeup, he's still gonna be like, I got you.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about supporting partner, friend, husband. That because I can sense that he just was like, whatever's gonna make you happy.
Right. He said, do you want to go back to hair? Will you ever go back? I said, no, because he used to, once he shaved it, he was shaving it like every 2 or 3 days with the the razor, same how he did his. And it got to a point where I would waking him up, honey, get up, you got to shave my head.
Really?
Wake up. And he was like, okay, here I come. And then so he bought me the skull shaver.
Okay.
So that's what I use now. Now the razor gives a smoother shave, but the skull shaver is more convenient. So now
you know how to
use
do it
that.
yourself?
I do it in the shower every other day, like Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday.
Really? It's just part of your routine now?
It's part of my routine.
Wow.
Yeah.
So where are you now as far as like remission?
I am not in remission. I am healed. I did.
Come on
I am
now.
healed. I am healed.
Yes.
I am healed. I did 6 rounds of chemo. I had a lumpectomy. And then I did a month of radiation. I thought that was the end of it. I'm like, okay, I made it through chemo. I did surgery, radiation. I'm done, right? He's like, no, you're done with that part, but you're not done. So I have to take a pill every day because my cancer was estrogen positive. So I have to take a pill every day to keep estrogen from developing in my body. That pill has its own set of side effects. Plus I have osteoporosis, and chemo damages and weakens your bones. Yes, and your heart. So I have to take a pill every Sunday to offset the damage to my bones. And the pill that I take every day has its own set of side effects. I have, with no estrogen, now I have hot flashes. I have, everything is dry. It's taking the natural moisture out of my body. I don't have, I used to have a fast metabolism. Now it's just almost non-existent. I've gained weight. People say, don't get what? You still look the same. I'm not the same. I am not the same. So I know that now because I was starting to call on myself fasting to keep from gaining weight and to keep from being, because I'm pre-diabetic. So I'm trying to keep my weight down, but I'm like, this stuff isn't working. I'm up to like 151 pounds. And Keisha, get her.
You're right. I get it.
Listen, I have been trying to get her all day because, newsflash, my friend.
She just told me something about myself earlier today that I could not believe.
And you're giving her she's had 2 examples that since we've been sitting here.
Yeah, and I caught myself just now, but Tikisha told me that I was not empathetic. And I have always felt like I was an empathetic person. But I just caught myself because she was like, I'm 150 pounds, which I should be empathetic because that's a lot for you.
Yes, and because I'm small, people are like, girl, shut up. I'm like,
Yes, but
I've
that
never
is
been
not
this
good.
big in my life.
Exactly.
So they look at me and they're like, what are you talking about? I said, if I showed you some pictures, you would be like,
yeah.
Oh, I understand now. But mine is because, for one, I don't want to be bigger. And 2, I don't want to be diabetic. So I'm trying to stay on that side, stay on the pre-diabetic side. But I got, no estrogen. So my metabolism is slower now. So I have
it's
to
harder
be
for you to
mindful.
lose weight.
Yeah, see the way I've been fasting and stuff, not eating the 12 and just eating salads. That's what I was doing a lot. I would have dropped 5 pounds by now, and it's like every so often I'm just picking a pound here, a pound there, and I'm like, why am I 100? When I met Al, I weighed 115.
Really?
Yeah. So now I told him, I said, honey, from 115 to 150.
And with our natural eyes, you look the same to us. Cause I wouldn't have thought you were like gained up, but when you said the number, I'm like, huh? Like you bothered by that? But I gotta go to my empathetic side. Like that's not where you have been.
Right. That's a lot for me.
That's a lot for you.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and then also everything that you name, in spite of everything that you have named
Mm-hmm.
that you are dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
osteoporosis, no estrogen, metabolism, breast cancer,
Right.
chemo, everything. You smile through it all.
Yes. I learned to smile because you know what? I don't know why I'm on this journey, but I'm on it. I'm an only child. It was just me and my mom. You know, my mom died in January of 2021. I got diagnosed with breast cancer in October 21. So it's been hard, but I had to cut my grief off to deal with this because I couldn't have dealt with both of them. But I thank God that He took my mom before I got sick because I could not imagine trying to care for her and care for myself.
Your mother, I remember your mother.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you said that, your mother was very sweet.
Yeah,
Very.
she could be very sweet. Yeah,
She always was sweet to me.
Yeah,
she would
she was
come
a
up to me and
sweetheart.
be like, "Hey."
with them hugs and kisses
Yes,
and stuff. Yeah.
yes, I remember her. And when I invited you here, I think I forgot about your mother passing right before this happened.
Yes.
And you said you had to cut your grief off.
Yes.
Let me ask you a question. I'm sorry, Keisha, but I know you said you used the word learn. What did that look like to you?
What?
Because you had to learn to be gentle with yourself.
I did because I was a people pleaser. I had anxiety and didn't know it, and it was just a lot. And Dr. Ali told me that cancer feeds from sugar and stress. So it was like after my mom died, a part of me died, and it was like you know what? I don't even care anymore. Certain things that I was stressed about, I'm like, nope, I don't even have the capacity to care anymore. So I need to just do what works for me. If I don't feel like doing something, just don't do it. Instead of just pushing myself, pushing and doing what everybody wants me to do and, just push and go. And I'm like, that's not working for you. You need to slow down and just, if you don't want to do it, if you don't feel like doing it, just say no. And it's okay. So I had to pull back and just focus on me, instead of, I'm focusing on the kids and the grandkids and my husband, which I love to do, but I had to just pull back and just, in my mind, just pull back. They're going to be okay. They're worried about you. You're worried about them. Just relax. But back to this pill. So this pill that I take causes bone and joint pain. So once I started taking it, you know how Fred Sanford walks? Mm-hmm. That's how I walk sometimes when the pain.
That's
hit
one
me.
of the side effects.
It's the side effects of the medication, bone and joint pain. Like you all might spend the day shopping. After I'm good, the first or second store, about the third store, I can't. I went out the first time I went outside shopping by myself. We live in Canton off of Ford Road. All the stores are right there together. I went in Gardner White. I went in one other store. I went in Walmart. By the time I got out of Walmart, I was so tired. All I could do was get in the car and just sit there. I didn't even have the energy to drive. I couldn't start the car. I couldn't do anything. And I'm like, what do you do? Do you call Al and tell him to come get you, which is going to totally freak him out? What do you do? So I just sat there and waited until I had enough energy to start the car and make it straight up Ford Road, turn on back, turn on Geddes, and pull in the garage. I was exhausted and it was scary. Mm-hmm. It was very scary. So even now, I can't walk a lot. I can't sit too long. My daughters and I, we went to Dawn Seekers last year in November, and I was feeling a little bad on the way there, but I'm like, nope, pressure away. We get there, I sit down and I'm like, okay, stand up, you'll be okay. I got back to Bianca's house and I was in so much pain. I'm like, Bianca, I don't know what's going on, but my back is killing me. So her husband, she was like, James, my mama don't feel good. Bring me the Salam Pass. She brought me that, and they gave me some Tylenol arthritis. And James came out the car and gave me a hug. You gonna be okay? I said, yeah, I just need to get home. And I got home, and again, I had to sit there because I didn't have the strength to get out of the car. And for 2 weeks, it hurt me so bad to walk that I could not believe it. And I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's the bony joint pain. It went away. This year in July, the same thing happened, and I was down for like, it happened 4th of July weekend, and it was so bad, Al had to go downstairs and get my walker for me to, put my weight on just to get to the bathroom, and it's just an excruciating pain, and then it goes away. So
you're learning your limits.
Yes, I have limits where I didn't have them before. So now everything I do is around my limits. Like last Saturday, I went to Forgotten Harvest to pack up food. I volunteered with this organization, and it was from 9 to 12. We had an event in the evening, so we, those big boxes that they have the pumpkins in at the store, it was full of apples, and we had to bag up the apples and then put them in another box. And it was fine as long as we were standing up, but as the box got more empty, now we're bending over, and I'm like, this is not going to end well. So I finished the box at 11 o'clock, and I'm like, now I got to go. Because if I stay to 12, it's not going to be good. So I went home. I was proud of myself for recognizing my limits. I'm like, the Lord said, go home. Leave now. You don't care what the people think. I don't care what's going on. He said, get in the car and go home. And I went home, and I relaxed, and I was able to go out. But everything I do now is based upon, around my limits. You know you can't do a lot of walking. You can't do a lot of sitting. Even when I go out to dinner with my girlfriends, girls talk. After about 2 hours, I'm like, you know what? You got to get up and move, because if you don't, it's not going to end well. Yeah.
That knowing your limits in all things, like people pleasing and everything, because is it still sometimes hard for you when you want to maybe have the people pleasing mindset because did you want to finish the thing at Forgotten Harvest, but or are you just completely okay with where your limits are because you know what's best for you?
I'm not okay with it, but I deal with it. Like, for instance, this year was the 10th anniversary of us losing Regina. And Mimi and Rihanna invited me to the lantern release, and in my mind, I wanted to go. I'm like, you gonna go. But the closer the time got for me to leave, physically, I just couldn't. And I'm like, here we go again. Something that you really want to do, you can't do it. And I'm like, they're going to stop inviting me because I can never show up. But I just don't have the physical strength. So I have to make myself okay with the fact they understand. And they will keep inviting you. But I just couldn't do it. And, certain events like that I regret that I can't be a part of. But I have to look at the bigger picture. You are a cancer survivor, and you're still surviving. You're still fighting it. The fight isn't over. You know what I'm saying? I won the first 3 rounds, but it's not over. And it's not going to be over until July 2027 when I stop taking those pills. Then it'll be over. So now I just have to live in my limits. Like even going to church for a while. Al went to church, and I stayed home and watched it on TV. And my thought was, for one, physically I can't do it, and mentally I need to stay home, watch it on TV, and cry all my tears out. Because every Sunday during church service, I just cried. The entire praise and worship, I cried every Sunday. And I'm like, nope, you're not done crying, so you can't go back to church. And one day I decided that I was going to go back. And while I went back, Al said, I really miss going to church with you. I'll be so glad when you can come back to church with me. And I'm like, oh, honey. So I didn't tell anybody I was going. I just got up one morning and he was like, what you doing? I said, I'm going to church. He's like, you going to church? I said, yeah. He was like, oh, okay. And I went and it was so physically draining on me because I'm a praise and worshiper.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do it, Keisha. I could not do it. I couldn't stand up for the entire prayer. I couldn't stand up for an entire praise and worship song. So I'm like, why did I even come out the house?
Let me ask you this, because you say you're a praise and worshiper. Now that you know your limits and everything, in what ways do you give God praise? Have you found other ways other than what the traditional way it is in church?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Right.
Have you found, what other ways have you found to give God praise that's not going to test your limits?
I listen to praise and worship music in the house, in the car, in the shower, and I'm at the point now where if they play, do a song that's my favorite song, okay, I'll stand up and I'll get my praise on for that song really, really hard. And then when the slow song comes on, I know to sit down. And I'll just wait. I'm like, you know what? Don't overexert yourself on the first song. Wait, enjoy that one, then sit down. Even, with some of the ministers praying, it was annoying to me. This is how crazy it was. It was annoying to me that the prayer was taking so long because I couldn't stand up. And I was getting mad. I'm like,
yeah, I get it.
And I said, Al was like, Dacia, you stand up if you can. You don't have to stand up. But I'm used to participating. I love church, and the fact that I was getting an attitude because this lady is praying to me what seemed to be so long, I'm like, you need to get yourself together. Stop. So sit down. It's okay. It's okay to sit down. It's okay to not stand up the entire praise and worship. Just be glad that you're in the house of the Lord. Just relax. So now, Al and I usher, but I don't usher. I can't. I can stand up for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, and that's it for me. So I go and I get dressed and I support him because we're co-leads with another couple. But I miss it. Dawn Secrets is in 2 weeks. I can't do a Dawn Secrets. I can't even do, an hour and 15 minutes on a Sunday. But I go, and I'm like, if somebody need a break, I'm good for 15 minutes. Other than that, I can't do it.
You look like you want to say something, friend.
No, I'm just, I don't have anything. Of course, I'm thinking about her with being the praise and worship girl because I'm the exact opposite.
Yes.
Really?
That's one of the reasons I asked you what other ways have you found, because we talk about that a lot on here, because actually last week, it's going to be posted tomorrow, I was talking about how, I was the church girl growing up, and I was the praise and worship girl and the choir, and I went to church a couple weeks ago, and just over the last year and a half, a lot of doing the things the same way don't really resonate with me. I worship more now at home than I did, but I also think because you have a supportive partner and y'all doing something that is a partnership, that may mean something different, if you know what I mean.
I understand that.
You know what I mean? When I was married, it wasn't like that.
Right.
So now I'm getting it for myself, but I had to remove myself kind of from the noise or entertainment, because that's where it started becoming to me, rather than, what it's supposed to be, like what it is for y'all.
Right.
So that's why I was asking you, what other ways? Because now, like in this very room, I be worshiping God, like, ooh, and I don't miss church as much as I don't really miss it at all, because I'm learning. But when I go, I enjoy it. But that's why I was asking, like, he's changed your limits.
Yes.
And now you worship more in a different way, and you don't feel bad or different about that you can't jump and
I've gotten used to it. At first I felt bad I couldn't stand up and worship the whole time. Now I know if you want to, I have to pace myself. either you're going to give all your energy in the first song and now you're going to have to sit down in the rest of them, or you're going to pace it. This is your favorite song, go ahead and go for it. Then sit down because you know you got the rest of the day to keep in mind. But
I have a question, and I don't want to come off rude. It's just my brain processes things differently. So when you say, like that was something you wanted to do, the praise and worship, you felt like that was your connection to God, letting him know, like, you're my everything type of thing.
yes,
It's not like we come, because remember on our conversation last week we was trying to decipher the differences between doing things out of routine
Yes.
versus doing things that you genuinely love. And
Right.
I feel like this is the perfect example because
Yes.
praise and
I
worship.
don't like praise and worship, but I love music. So I can be at home and listen to whatever song of my choice and
I love
but when
music.
it's in the building for some reason I don't connect.
And I think this is a great example of I can feel her energy that she feel like that is a connection
that's
to
just
her
like
to
that
God.
was like
yes.
if I'm sitting down, I'm not giving my reverence, my respect, and showing him how much I love him because this is what
I need to open
am
my hands
doing.
and look up, and I cry so much now. Before I'm an avoider by nature, so the hard conversations, the difficult conversations, the emotions, I just shut down. But between losing my mom and getting cancer, I had to cry. So I cry all the time now. And remember, my goal was to not go back to church until I thought I was done crying. I go back to church and I'm just as crying just as hard in church as I was at home. And it was just, it was the grief, it was the joy, it was thankfulness that I got through my treatment. Now I'm able to come back out and be with people, and I could just feel the music. I could feel the words. I could feel the presence of God. Some Sundays, by the time between praise and worship and Pastor Kenlock, I'm hot, I'm musty, my throat is sore. I'm like, oh, I need some kind of kit for after church because
you done gave your all.
Yes, I'm like, I literally
see
need
that's
some
when you
pause.
know it's real. You like, I'm depleted from giving him my all.
Yes, screaming, hollering, standing up, praise and worship. And when pastors, because I grew up poor, so anytime Pastor Kenlock talk about his upbringing, I'm like, yes, I remember. And it's so emotional to me, and I just put my everything in it. But I do the same thing at home. My thing now is trusting God by aware worship. I heard that song at a retreat this summer, and I memorized the words, and I sing it over and over, and I get so emotional, and I just cry so much. But I had to tell myself now, these are tears of joy. Yes, you grieve your mom, but when it comes to you and why you're crying, you're not crying anymore because you're sad. You're crying because you're grateful, you're happy. I just cannot believe that God chose me to be the recipient of his healing power. I'm like,
I love that. I wish, and I don't know where it comes from. I wrote about this because why do we feel like we can't cry? People who don't cry always say, I'm not a crier. I cry all the time. I'm comfortable with crying all the time.
Now
she
I
cries.
Before I know.
Like, I'm surprised, honestly, that I haven't went in a full-fledged since we've been talking. Because all I do is cry.
She's I was about to say good at showing her emotions. Good is not the word. Not ashamed.
Yeah, I'm very self-aware of who I am, and I don't have a problem with showing people that. I'm very, like, that part of me is the vulnerability with the crying, and I feel like a lot of people want to mask that.
Yes,
but
avoid it.
Yeah.
I avoid it. Like, if someone passed, I'm going to cry right then, and I'm not going to think about it, so I'm not going to cry. Now, when Regina cried, when Regina died, that...
We always cry.
That...
Yeah, I remember.
I
realize it's been 10 years, but I remember when it happened.
I grieved so hard for Regina that I grieved in my body. And I'm gonna say this: it was so bad. I thought I was going through menopause or something because of the way my body was reacting, but it was grief, and I didn't know it until like a month after she passed, and then it stopped. But the next time somebody else close to me passed, you know, like my arms would get numb and heavy, and I'm like, oh, that wasn't menopause. That you're grieving in your body. So I had to release that.
I don't think a lot of people realize that we hold a lot of those type of feelings in our body.
Yes.
Grief or stress, and
Yes.
how it affects you physically.
Yes.
And once I learned that, I try to be intentional about holding stress and releasing anxiety, because I remember when COVID hit, I developed really bad anxiety and started having panic attacks, and it started just taking over, and I felt it all the time, and I was just like, wow, and it never went away until I fully surrendered to God.
Wow.
I haven't felt anxiety in probably a year and a half now. Like it felt like a tight band around my head all the time.
Wow.
Or just heart palpitations, and it could be anxiety over the smallest thing.
Yeah.
Just because I was a person that held stuff in, and kind of like you, I didn't want to have, you know, the hard conversations with people, or just confrontation, or
no
whatever.
Confrontations, no hard conversations.
Yeah, and I can accept hard conversations, and you know, like when my friend told me today that I wasn't empathetic.
Yeah, that was a hard.
It was hard. It was hard. I'm sure she haven't wanted to tell me that, you know, because it probably was like, you know, Keisha needs to know, and it came so smoothly. Like God really deal with our friendship where we could receive from each other. So when she told me, it was like I started to notice it immediately. Like even in a conversation with you, when you was talking about weight, I started to. It hits me like, dang, that wasn't empathetic.
But you realizing that you're paying attention.
But I'm realizing it. So, but a lot of that stuff we hold in. So I'm intentional now about not holding that stuff in. But also, what I was going to say to you, when you was talking about how you feel depleted after you give God praise and worship. Back when you were wearing your wigs and weaves, and you were concerned about the hair, it probably was harder for you to give full.
Right, because I was so preoccupied with how I looked. You know, how did my hair look? How my clothes look? Am I showing too much? You know, what's going on? All of this.
And isn't it how amazing God is, because he is healing you? How amazing he is that now you feel free to do that. And it's not about how you look.
It's not about how I look. And it's like, if I really think about it, I'm like, you look the same. You just don't have hair.
Right.
So you've been tripping all of this time. It's still you.
It's still you.
So now, you know, I just, you know, being an only child and growing up alone, I kind of felt like I was a people pleaser. People really didn't see me. So now you have no choice but to see me. When I walk in the room, everybody sees me because I'm the bald lady in the room. They're probably like, is it alopecia? Does she have cancer? Is it by choice? You know, what's going on? So, you know, I'm in the light now. I'm just walking.
And you
light.
walk boldly in it, like, hey,
it's like,
yes. I'm like,
it's like he didn't heal me for anything, for nothing, and I can't let that go to waste. I'm like, he did it for a purpose. So I gotta walk in the light.
Yes.
I have to walk in the light.
I love that. I'm enjoying this conversation. I don't know where we at, but I just admire that you are just walking in freedom now and in peace. And you got the sickness and the ailments, but he said that, you know, we will suffer some things.
We will suffer. And you know, there's that scripture that says you suffer and now you're lacking in nothing, now you're complete. That scripture is on the promises of God, where it says you suffer this and by enduring it and everything, now you're complete. I've suffered grief, so I know how, that field. You know, you never know God to be a healer until you're sick. You never know him to be a lawyer in the courtroom until you need him. So I feel like he's completing me. I've lost my mom, so I know how it feels to
everything
grieve.
you just said. Like, I can relate to every single example.
Yeah, I know how it feels now. You know, my mom had her sicknesses, and you know she took a lot of medication, but she drank, and she knew that she shouldn't be drinking, but she did. So in me trying to take care of her, I was so focused on the fact that she was drinking and taking this medication. I wasn't focused on her. I was focused on trying to take care of her. So I was always fussing and angry and fussing at her because she knew she shouldn't be drinking and she had to take this medication, and she would say she's in pain. And I'm like, Ma, ain't even nothing wrong with you. What are you talking about? So now that I have this bone and joint pain, I'm like, Ma, I know exactly what you are going through, what you went through, and I feel so bad, but I did the best that I could. Now I know when she said my legs are hurting, I know what it feels like now to hurt for nothing, for no reason. And she would say, my legs are hurting, I can hardly walk. And I'm like, if you stop drinking that rum, you can't mix the rum and the pills. You know better. And she would say, I'm going to stop. And she wouldn't. So I was so focused on taking care of her, I didn't see her and say, hey, something must be going on that she can't stop drinking. Because if she could, she would, but I couldn't see that. Now I see it. So now I know how to tell the next person, you got to put that aside and just love them for who they are. And I
This
do
is
that.
It's like really, I've been talking about a mirror. It's like looking back at that reflection. And when the person passes away, you feel like it's too late.
It's too late, and you're
because there's so many things. Like today, I broke down again, and you know, my grief, it don't last long like it used to. I lost my mother. It's been 7 years now. Wow. But I just was thinking like, oh, you was doing this because of this, and I was saying this. Yeah. Like, I wish I could take those moments back in time.
Yes.
So it's really teaching me to learn. So if it's something that you're doing that's triggering me, why is that triggering me? So I try to look internal, and then I try and put my feet in their shoes to try and understand, because we be quick to negate somebody else's pain, whatever their pain looks like.
Right.
But we have to respect people individually.
Yeah. I think that when we be in the middle of it,
it's so hard.
It's hard to realize
especially
their pain.
When like you're doing the taking care of.
Yeah.
See, I never really had to do that with my mother. But I had other experiences where I still feel like I didn't give her the compassion.
That was me. No compassion. I was just trying to take care of her household, take care of my household, pay her bills, you know, just so busy trying to take care of her. I didn't see her as a person. So I had a lot of guilt when she passed. And I'm like, you know what, Dacia? If your mom was still alive, she would still be doing the same exact thing. So it's nothing that would have changed her. It's nothing that would have changed you, because you guys are who you are. Your relationship would have been the same thing.
Because that really makes a lot of sense to me. I'm going to carry that in my heart. That really makes a lot of sense to me, because I think about certain things that my mom did, and I was just like, I don't understand why you can't just stop doing that. Just stop. Like, it's tearing you apart. It's what's causing you to be sick.
Right.
And I'm like, you just need to do this and do this, and we can do
like
this. And but she still always did what she wanted
every single time.
Every time. And you're exactly right, because if she was here right now,
she would still be
doing that same thing.
The same thing. She would
be telling me, Tikisha, I don't care nothing about that.
Because we have to know at the end of the day, if they could stop, and they know it's bad for their health. If they could stop, they would. But something is going on that she can't stop.
And at the time, it wasn't recognizing to give the compassion to see. Like,
I was just trying to take care of her, and take care of my husband, and my house, and my kids. And she used to always say, "You got to take care of me. I'm the mama." I'm like, I'm somebody's mama too. I beg your pardon. And just lo and behold, at the end, towards the end, she got sick and she passed out, and she woke up and she wasn't the same. So she ended up getting dementia, and she was in the hospital, and I didn't know it. So when we brought her home to live with us, she had dementia and she was incontinent, and I didn't know it because when they're in the hospital and you ask them, how you doing? I'm okay. What you eat today? She can tell you. So I thought she was okay. And she came home and she wasn't okay. She wasn't the same person. And I say now, and I took care of her for 2 months until we couldn't handle it. And I had to put her in a nursing home. And that hurt me to my heart. But mind you, I'm still working full time while I'm caring for her and all of this stuff. And I said, Mama, you said I was going to have to take care of you. I've always been a secretary. I never wanted to be a nurse, but you made me to be a nurse. I look at it and I'm like, she got me to take care of her. And if I had to do it all over again, I would. As hard as it was, I would do it in a heartbeat.
She proud of you.
Girl.
She is.
Yeah.
And people always talk about, you can't talk to I talk to my mama.
Yeah.
Hey, Ma.
Yeah, I was one of those people for a long time. I wouldn't, and now I just be like, Ma.
Yeah.
I said just like I said if she was here, Ma.
Yeah, I can smell when my mom is in our house.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't. She
I've
hasn't
had
visited me
situations
in a
like
while.
that where I felt like I smelled cigarettes, and my mom was she was a smoker.
Yeah, just a certain smell, the way that her house or her clothes smell. Because when she lived with us, we shared a room. Like her bed was here, and my work area was here. So I can come to the top of the stairs, and I can smell her, and I'm like, "Hey, Ma."
Wow.
Hey, Ma. I'm like, wow. But she hasn't visited me in a while. But I can smell her just as pure as she can be sitting. I'm like, hey, Ma.
Hey, mamas.
Yeah.
Right, because when I invited you, I did not give thought to that you were a motherless daughter like us.
I was devastated when y'all's mom passed because Keisha, and I think I texted LaTanya, I dreamt about her a few days before she passed.
Did you? I never knew that.
Nope. I think I probably might have texted LaTanya because it devastated me. I dreamt about her. She was just laying in the bed and I was sitting at the foot of the bed and, it was just, I was there. And I'm like, So whatever morning I got up and I saw the phone that she passed, I read it and I threw the phone. I'm like,
Girl,
not
I just
going
gotta chill.
back on Facebook. I was like, I just saw her. And I threw it and I'm like, nope, I'm not going back on Facebook because I can't.
Oh my God, I never knew that.
No, and I kept saying, I need to get together with them so we can talk. Because I followed you and I see you dressing her on Sundays and she was hiding the cane and you are taking care of her. And I'm like, me and my mom's dynamic wasn't like that. So I kind of like live vicariously through you guys.
Aww.
So I'm like, we need to compare notes because mine wasn't a sweet story like that. But when she passed, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just saw her.
I'm glad that gave me a little comfort. I never knew that you had a dream about my mother.
Yep, a couple of days before she passed.
I never knew that. Tanya never shared that with me. She, but
She
you know what?
probably
She
forgot.
probably forgot because so much was going on during that time. So, and most people were calling her and not calling me because I wouldn't answer the phone. I still don't answer the phone. Sorry, y'all.
That's that Virgo. We don't want to be bothered. We ain't going to be bothered.
Wow. But that gives me some comfort that you had a dream about her.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm like, I think I've seen your mom maybe once or twice. So for me to see her, she's just sitting there and I'm sitting there and things are just going around and then she passed.
Our mothers are our angels, no matter how sweet or a little sour the story is.
I agree. That's why, and I used to always say motherless daughter, but now I don't use that term anymore because I'm like, her soul is forever. So I'm not less.
Yeah.
She's just not here in the physical with me, but I am her.
Yeah. And I say, I said, think about your mom and the things, the qualities that you loved about her and that everybody loved about her, and you take that and let that be a part of your heart and your personality. So I took, my mom was a sweetheart, always loving and kissing on people and hugging them.
She always was kissing me. I was going to get a kiss from her.
Yeah, and she loved to cook and have people to come over and cook. So I love to cook for Bianca and Capri. I love to spoil them. My mom spoiled me, and like their friends, they love me because I hug them and kiss them and ask them how they're doing. And then I'm also myself. I'm the inappropriate grandmother. So it's things about me
Okay, girls.
that are just
Listen,
it's
love
just who
that.
I am. You know, I'm the mama where I called Bianca and she said, "Ma, you on speakerphone and the kids in the car." I'm like, okay. Let me know when they get out the car so we can talk. So
That
I
was,
just
that was
embrace
how
that.
maybe that's why you had that feel that connection with my mother.
And we're all Virgos.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
my mother was the inappropriate. Well, she talk on speaker, but our conversations that she would have with us would be like, okay,
You have some
yeah,
very
like,
inappropriate
yes,
conversations,
like, girl,
But I cannot wait to use that knowledge that she taught me.
yes. So,
You know,
yeah.
Keisha never really gives me a background of our guests.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know your name or anything ahead of time. So this is always, it's really good for
Yeah.
me when and it's never not flowed perfectly.
Yeah.
Ever, even when it's just me and you. But
That's
I
because
love it when,
yeah,
because I just feel like God is in the midst for sure.
yes,
He is because
So thank you.
I always asked him. I said, Lord, I want to take my knowledge and my experience and share it and help other breast cancer survivors because so many people say, you know, how you doing? How you doing? You got this. You got this. I'm like, well, how do you know? And I don't want to have this. So you're saying you got this like it's easy, but it's not. And chemo does such horrible, horrible, horrible things to your entire body that nobody talks about. So a lot of things went on with me that I didn't have an outlet. And people say, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm okay. But they didn't say, you want to talk about it? So I have all this stuff, these alien experiences that I went through. And my thing has always been, I want to share that. I want to be the sounding board for the next person that goes through chemo. I'm like, girl, did this happen to you? Did this happen to you? And we can be like, I know, right? Wasn't that a trip? Wasn't it awful? So I always wanted that to be my ministry, but that hasn't happened yet. So when you invited me to come and talk, I'm like,
it's happening right now.
I was like, oh my
It's
God.
happening right now.
Well, let me say this. God being me and Tikisha's conversations daily.
Mhm.
Like, there's not really a day that goes by. He's in our text messages. He's in our conversations. He's deep down in our heart.
Mhm.
He done placed the Holy Spirit way deep down so that we get clarity on things. So when he gave me the idea to invite somebody, I immediately got with her, and like she said, I never give her any information. I just said I got somebody.
Right.
And I just always trust that he is going to allow the conversation to flow like it does when it's us, but also that it's going to be a message of healing and helping.
Right.
And not just breast cancer, even though that's the biggest thing we talked about today, but
Right.
I don't even think you understand how much more of the many messages you've given today
Oh.
is going to be a blessing to not just us, but somebody else.
Okay.
And that's what we be needing when we sit down on this platform is just something organic, something authentic, no practice, no topic, no, let's just talk and let God do his perfect work.
Yes.
And he does it every time, and he did it again today because you have shared some things today that I am going to take with me. For the rest of my life. Like you've given me, even when you were talking about, this is something Tikisha also says to me this week, was something I was dealing with. I don't see other people's emotions when it's something that they're dealing with and I don't see their side. How we were talking about the mothers and everything. That's something now I'm really going to have to like pay attention to. Try when they say put yourself in the other person's shoes. We really don't do that.
We don't do it.
But we really need to do that. Like before we attack or say something like, let me place myself in their shoes. Even though I may not know the entire situation. Because like I said, when I see you, I just be like, hey girl, I knew you had breast cancer, but I don't think I ever like reached out and said, because I just don't be wanting to say the wrong thing. And you know how people say, you say people say to you, How you doing? How you feeling? One of the things I learned when my mother, well, not my mother, when her mother passed, is that people say the wrong thing, and then they think they're offering help, and it's not help.
Right.
And I'm in a place where I just try not to. I just follow whatever. You hug me, I hug you. Like, hey, and I see the smile, and I know she okay.
Right. Yeah.
She
and sometimes what I've learned through this journey is people, they'll ask you how you're doing, and I think they expect, because I look normal, that everything is okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm having a bad day, I'm gonna say I'm having a bad day, and they'll gloss over, oh, like it's gonna be okay, or
they don't go in depth.
I'm like, you asked me how I felt. I'm telling you, and now because it's something that's not positive, you just gonna gloss over it. Like, I'm like, well, you asked me how I felt, and I'm telling you, I don't feel good. This is
so when
awful.
you having a bad day, you like, I'm not having a good day. I'm having a bad day.
Yeah,
they don't want to
it's
go
gonna be
depth.
okay,
Yeah.
or you know what, and they'll start talking about something else. I'm like, if you don't want to know the truth, don't ask. And don't think because, and I have a problem with this within myself, I don't look like what I've been through. So I'm like, I feel like maybe I didn't suffer as the next person, but I did suffer. Okay, I didn't suffer as bad as you, but I did suffer. So now when I'm talking to people, don't just think because I'm healed now that mine wasn't as bad. It was still bad. It just wasn't bad as the next person. So don't discount what I went through because I look normal now.
Right, because your bad was your bad.
It was my bad. It wasn't as bad as hers, but it was still bad to have that.
Exactly.
Have one, cancer, and then to have a poison put in your body to kill it. That was bad.
Yeah,
that was bad.
I mean, I got through it, but it was bad.
So many nuggets. Thank you, Dacia. I appreciate
Well, thank you, Keishas.
I like that.
I know. I like that too. It would be you to come up with that cute little thing. Thank you. I'm blessed by this conversation. I am really blessed by this conversation. And now I've learned some more lessons from you today.
Yeah, I learned some things from you too today. You guys are so cool and so cute, and
oh, thank you.
And
yeah. We started this just to. I think we may have started for one reason, but God saw something else.
Right.
God definitely had something else in mind when He gave us the idea.
Right.
And as week to week go on, it just become more clear on what God has for it to be. Because I'm gonna say this, and then we'll get ready to end. We talk about leaving a legacy for our children.
Right. And
now you're part of that legacy.
Oh.
This video is going to be on for years to come. So your grandchildren's children's children is going to know your story.
Oh, that's awesome.
And that's part of the reason God got us doing this. That's the legacy. Legacy ain't always money.
Right.
So not only we're going to help millions of people, because we believe in millions going to see this.
They are. And this is the fact that you said legacy really resonates with me. Because I didn't have grandmothers like other people had grandmothers. My maternal grandma was passed when she was 42. My mom was 17. My dad's mom passed at 46. And I was 6 years old. So I had one memory of her that I always thought, did I make that up? Did that really happen? I don't.
We gotta wrap up.
Because
I want you to be rested. Because
you're gonna have to come back. We got so much. We have so much to talk about with you.
Keisha and I talked about the no grandmothers too.
Really?
Yes. We
had an episode.
We had an episode. We talked about that.
I didn't know either of my grandmothers.
Really? Girl,
Yeah.
I found my mom kept everybody's obituary, and I found my grandmother's obituary, and I was able to do the math to see how old she was when she passed. One, I found out she was 46, and that just blew me away because my maternal grandma passed in her 40s. So I did the math, and I realized, okay, so you were 6 years old when she passed, so that memory that you had is your only memory, and it actually happened. I was crying out, crying so bad. It just blew my mind. So I reached out to my aunt and said, "How old was my grandma?" She said she was 42. So I had these grandmas who died so young. And I'm like, I'm an only child. I've never had grandma, so I have so much loneliness in my heart. So just the fact that, like Bianca's kids, they had at one time my mom, so they had a great grandmother and 2 complete sets of grandparents. They still have 2 complete sets of grandparents.
So you changing that generation.
Yes, Anaya has 2 complete sets of grandparents, and I'm like, that just blows me away.
We're gonna have to have you back because I enjoyed this conversation.
I
enjoyed it. I'm just full. You full, friend? You about to cry. She about to cry. Listen, we want to thank our guests, my friend Tikisha's new friend and sister, Miss Dacia Bowers. I know, for coming and sharing her story, her testimony, sharing her story of help and healing. I mean, it's been a blessing, and I just want to say I love you.
I love you too.
And I feel better.
I feel better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I feel better. I feel better.
This has been the best October I've had since I got diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yes.
And I want to thank you all for helping me end the month of October on a high note.
Yes. By the time y'all see this, it's gonna be November 1st, but we gonna still be celebrating her forever and ever and ever. Forever and ever. Listen, we want y'all to like, listen, subscribe, share with a friend. Tell us in the comments what you thought about this episode. If you know somebody with breast cancer or anything, just send them this message so they could be encouraged by it. I think that's it.
Yes.
And I just want to say, breast cancer is not a death sentence. Stop the silence. Don't be ashamed. Go to the doctor. Get your mammogram.
Yes.
It's not a death sentence. Stop the silence.
All right.
That's it.
We'll see y'all next week.